Hello to you, classmates. This is our topic, Chapter 1, Lesson 3, The Self as Cognitive Construct. So, what is a self as cognitive construct? In cognitive psychology, the self is understood as contextual or ecological intertwining cognitive capacities with social experiences, and Bernard's analysis affirms the novel's narrative where the self develops through cognitive and cultural interconnections. These objectives, at the end of this lesson, you should be able to first, identify the different ideas in psychology about the self. Second, create your own definition of the self based on the definition from psychology. And third, analyze the effects of various facts identified in psychology and the formation of the self. For this lesson, we were able to identify the definition of the self. Again, the self is the study of either the cognitive or affective representation of one's identity or one subject of experience. There are various definitions of the self and other similar or interchangeable concepts in psychology. Other concepts similar to self are identity and self-concept. Identity is composed of personal characteristics, social rules, and responsibilities, as well as affiliations that define who one is. Identity, refers to stable and permanent aspects of one's self-perception. It is an individual sense of self defined by a set of physical, psychological, and interpersonal characteristics that is not fully shared with any other persons, and the range of affiliations and social rules. Self-concept is what basically comes to your mind when you are asked about who you are. Self-concept is how you perceive your behavior, abilities, and unique characteristics. At its most basic, self-concept is a collection of beliefs one holds about oneself and the responses of others. Next, self-identity and self-concept not fixed in one time frame. Carl Rogers captured this idea in his concept of self-schema, or our organized of collection of knowledge about who we are. Carl Rogers believed that for a person to achieve self-actualization, they must be in a state of congruence. This means that self-actualization occurs when a person's ideal self is congruent with their actual behavior as self-image.
Mental constructs is different to self-schema because mental constructs deals in our beliefs in it. Example, self-schema portion of the family would be his the only child. He would say that every family for him would be happy, full of things. And he's the only child, but John's mental constructs of the family would be different to himself. So my mental construct of of my family would be big, very religious, traditionalist. But for him it would be different. Freud saw the self, its mental process, and one's behavior as the result of the interaction between the id, the ego, and the superego. Freud believed that a behavior depends on id, ego, and superego. These are actually, and he can define this as something layers of the mind according to Freud. Id is also known as the pleasure principle. It only wants, it only needs, it only focuses on what would be pleasurable. For example, if you are thirsty, your id would be say, drink that water because you're thirsty. So again, the id focuses only the pleasure. The ego, the ego on the other hand is the reality principle. It covers on the reality aspects. The superego now is the conscience. It is the conscience and it is also the responsible for the idea. For example, if you are thirsty, the id would say, I want to drink that water. the ego would say, wait, that water must be dirty. But super ego say, the water might be dirty or not. You should not drink it because it's not yours. So super ego plays as the conscience is like angel telling you what to do. Alright, again, this is the id, ego, and super ego. Id is the pleasure principle, ego is the reality principle, super ego are conscience.
There are three reasons why self and identity are social product. 1. We do not create ourselves out of nothing. Society help in creating the foundation of who we are. Our family plays a vital role in developing ourselves as ourselves. When we are young, do not automatically know who we are. Thus, the society help us to say who we really are as we are getting older. 2. Whether we like to admit it or not, we are actually need to others affirm and reinforce who are we thinking we are. We have our family and friends to tell us the ideas of who they think we are, whether we are bad or good. They didn't deny, even it makes you feel bad. They speak it out and tell honesty who they think we are. 3. What we think is important to us may also have been influenced by what is important in our social and historical concept. Our thoughts of the things that we think are important influence of what we are thinking in our social and historical concept from within our relationship to others tell us what is important and our priorities on. Social interaction and group affiliation are vital factors in creating our self-concept, especially in aspect of providing us of social identity, and it helps identity where really. If you have any ideas of who you think you are, it means you are becoming aware of yourself. It yours no longer believe on what people are saying and believes of what you think who you are. It is becoming self-aware. If you are aware of yourself, you know your strength and weakness, you know your limitation.